Welcome to the new episode of r/Askreddit. What is something your parents ingrained in you that you now realize is ridiculous? That it's normal to have something negative to say about everyone you know as soon as you leave any sort of gathering. Same here. Including immediate family. It was always so toxic. I always thought it was totally normal. When I got a partner and went somewhere with their family for the first time, I was actually amazed they only had positive things to say when leaving. My first thought was, when are you guys going to start canning people? Thankfully didn't say it out loud. Like yeah, occasionally they might have a little gossip or vent, but usually it was always for a decent reason, not just because it's what people do. My family's justification for doing it. That the important people in your life should read your mind and know what you want them to do without asking. Absolutely not true. You need to set boundaries, voice your concerns and desires, and communicate to get what you want. Not just expect people to do what you want and be mad when they don't. Ugh, this is my mother. She won't stay in the relationship if her partner can't read her mind. Mine also does this and gets deeply offended if you don't guess every single thing she must be thinking. She never communicates these things ahead of time. You just have to guess, based on what you know about her, that I'll quickly succumb to illness if I go outside with wet hair, where hair and a cross breeze is sure to cause instant paralysis or death. My Eastern European parents taught me that, so it must be true. Hey, if their ancestors hadn't been so diligent about beheading and staking corpses, we'd be overrun by vampire by now. I thank them for their service. The need to always be productive. There is no sitting down. If you sit down you can be folding laundry, organizing something. The house must be spotless, the yard must be pristine, even if there's only one person to do all of it, and time for yourself is frivolous. Anything short of this is laziness, the ultimate sin. I'm literally sick from living that way. The guilt of self-care is gut-wrenching. The old if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. What will the neighbors think? Funny that the same parents who dressed me funny and told me not to worry what the other kids thought were suddenly all what will the neighbors think when I wanted to take up knitting. Till knitting might be controversial. Always think the worst, it's usually not that bad. I think they thought it was a good message, but it actually made me very scared all the time. If I can't get a hold of someone I think they are dead or hurt. Or if someone is having bad day I always think it's something I did wrong. I'm trying to change, trying to look at things differently. Hope for the best, expect the worst. My parents literally had a poster on my wall. I'm still as a 40-something man, waiting for bad things to happen. The usual quote is, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Expecting it is just anxiety enabling. Hope you don't get a flat tire, but plan for it by having tools in case you do. That sort of idea. I was bullied a lot growing up. I was a miserable little girl who heard, boys you pick on you actually like you, and girls who pick on you are just jealous of you. My dad told me to beat my bully with a 2x4. I passed on that advice, and am doing much better now. Hope you are too. I found out years later that when I was being bullied in middle school, my mom paid an older kid, who she was tutoring, because he'd gotten expelled, to scare off the guy bullying me. She even taught him new swear words to use apparently. I've recently realized how much of my negative self-talk is directly from my parents. Something good happens, and I still get negativity. You know that voice in your mind that says, you should not even try, because you'll never be good enough. That's my mother. And those are direct quotes. So it's not so much negative self-image as just memories of things that have actually been said to me. Ever have your mother tell you, at the age of 14, you're so lazy, you're going to marry a pregnant woman? No, just me? That I should always smile and act as though everything is good in my life to people. What happens in our family should never be shared with people outside the family. That I should never share my personal business with anyone. Never be vulnerable or let people know they've hurt you. Thanks for making me super stunted at making friends growing up, Mom. Turns out that talking to people about your life and struggles and being vulnerable forges deep relationships and is a lot healthier. In retrospect it makes sense now how Mom never had friends and still has none. She was shocked to see how many friends came out for our wedding and how much they genuinely love us. That when you injure yourself, it's 100% your fault, and that the immediate response is to scold you for being injured, and worry 0% about the injury for a second or two. Edit. I remember being at the fair one time, and got lost for about 10 minutes. My mom just ran crying to the car, because she used to tell us that, if we ever got lost, to return to the car. Pops was still looking for me when I got to the car. My mom's first words were, "Your dad is gonna be pissed at you," and yanked my ear. My dad eventually shows up, and his words were, "Why the did you get lost? I feel you on this one." I constantly apologize when I hurt myself/screw something up for myself, and it really confuses other people. And my parents' total distortion on this stuff hasn't changed. I have 3 chronic health conditions that are hereditary, and they still act like it's 100% my fault, or I brought it on myself. And if they get angry at me, clearly it will help me learn my lesson and get magically cured from incurable things. It's not worth the risk. So much life missed out on not taking a small risk, and I'm not talking about skydiving, more like going into the city late at night to see your favorite band play. You might get mugged. It's not worth the risk. Okay, yeah, there's risk averse, and then just not living. That's the latter. The only people that sleep during the day are firefighters and prostitutes, and you aren't either of those. I still can't sleep or nap during the day. Lol. Added note, the point my parents were trying to make was sleeping during the day was lazy behavior. I didn't have a night job. They use those two as an example. I was 10. Still stupid. Yes, of course. I cured my parents of giving me a hard time for sleeping until 3 or 4 in the afternoon when I was working night shift. Fad would give me the old "you going to sleep all day at noon on my day off." Like, yes, I got home 4 hours ago. So I started calling them just to chat at like 2 AM. "Oh hey, I'm on my lunch break." "What do you mean you're sleeping? You're still in bed?" They got the message pretty quickly. All unions are bad. My dad refused to work a union job. Ended up with nothing but a life of financial struggles. He was not thrilled when I took a union job. 20 years in a union, private sector, good wages, vacation and traditional pension. It was not an easy job for me, but at least I have something to show for it. What does your dad think about it now? I never asked him. Didn't seem much reason to at that point. I do wonder if he regretted that stance, but no sense in rubbing salt in the wound. He passed away. Don't ever ask for help. As an adult, I watched the end of My Cousin Vinny and realized how that had been holding me back. Marissa Tomei on The Witness Stand is a scene I will always rewatch. We watched it at law school as part of the module on evidence. Never do a job unless you're gonna do it perfectly. Now as an adult, I've had to unlearn all this damaging perfectionism. The phrase "anything worth doing is worth half-assing" has been very helpful to me as I try to become less of a perfectionist. My mom put a lot of stock into people who had a lot of money, drove fancy cars, took fancy vacations. As an adult who is struggling to get by, I realize how ridiculous she sounds or acts. Your friend from high school just bought a $3 million house. That's great for them. I believe they had a large trust fund. I have to work for everything. So and so's child is in med school. That's great. Could you at least pay for my undergrad? No? Well, there's no chance I'll be going to med school. Everyone is more important than you. When I was a junior in high school, she once quite seriously asked my best friend why he would be friends with me because she couldn't understand why anyone would be. Wow, that's so callous. Why would a parent ever say this to their child? I've come to terms with my parents. They weren't bad people, just sometimes could do bad things. As the eldest child, mostly to me. Some of it was the result of their own childhood traumas and demons. Some of it the result of marital stress, immaturity, poor decision making skills and alcoholism. Their choice to have 6 children, while my father struggled financially and my mother struggled with being permanently stuck at home, didn't help. I don't have an answer to some of the stuff from my childhood, but I did come to the decision that I could let it destroy me, or I could let it go and live the life I wanted. I succeeded and had an awesome life. Great 38-year marriage to the love of my life and a wonderful son. I'm an important and loved person in many people's lives. I cared for both of my parents at the ends of their lives, which was my choice. I gave them the love and care they needed. I chose to be a loving, caring person, and that's who I am. The question I'm asking is, who wouldn't want a friend like you? You sound like one better than decent guy. I try to be the best person I can be. Not to cry, because everyone will think you are weak. With me it's okay to cry. Let it all out. And boys don't cry. Man up. At the same time. Sounds a lot like my dad, who by the time I was 13 I want grandbabies. Yet simultaneously don't let any single boy near you, or he'll kill someone. Those were the days. The confusing, frightful days. The vast gulf between adults and children. I'm in my early 50s, and I still think of other people as adults. I'm 44, and I'm always looking for an adultier adult. I was the youngest of 5 kids, so I was never in charge of anything. I'm a manager with multiple colleagues that I supervise, and half of the time I feel like some of them should be supervising meal mayo. The whole make you finish what's on your plate thing. Yeah, I'm not hungry. Why you making me eat? I grew up with the super fun messaging combo of finish your plate and you need to lose weight. Mine never made me finish my plate because they hated their parents doing that to them. But the way they fluctuated between you're too skinny, you look like a skeleton, and you're getting a belly, aren't you? Over a difference of 10 pounds left me a bit messed up. Nothing was right. I always felt too skinny and fat. Another one, you can never stand to be a little uncomfortable. My narcissistic mom's way of dismissing my need for anything, food, bathroom, warmth, that would inconvenience her. I still struggle with trying to ignore my own physical needs, so I'm not an inconvenience, even if I'm all alone. For example, sometimes I'll wait until I'm almost bursting to finally use the restroom because I grew up hearing, "Can't you hold it for a little bit longer? We'll be there in 20 minutes, or you just went. How can you have to go again so soon?" The other big thing was being cold all winter long, to the point of having a constant sore throat and getting strep throat at least once or twice every winter. The cold air would make me feel like I was swallowing glass. My parents refused to let me have a space heater or an electric blanket because it's too expensive. I still struggle with turning up the heat, even though I'm paying it myself. I feel guilty if anyone comes to my house, like they are going to judge me for wasting so much money to be warm. My normal body temperature is also below 98.6, so I get a lot colder more easily than most people do. My parents always turned the heat off at night, no matter how cold it was. I finally realized, as an adult, that of course they weren't cold. They could cuddle up together and stay nice and toasty. They also didn't have sensitive throats like I do. Anyway, money was a little tight, but looking back on it now, it wasn't that tight. We still did all the normal middle class suburbia things. As an adult, I can't imagine letting my child be cold, or denying them a bathroom break, or forcing them to eat food they hated, because it would inconvenience me to tend to their needs. Some people really shouldn't have kids. Sugar Plum, as a fellow low body temperature person, 97.8 woo, get yourself an electric blanket. You can fire it up and have a warm and toasty bed before you even crawl in. It sidesteps the guilt of turning up the heat, and also sleeping warm in a cold room is top notch. Also get yourself a little humidifier, even just a cute one for kids, for the dry air. Prioritize making your sleep space comfortable and renewing. Paranoia in the worst possible scenario. Me, I'm going to go ride my bike. My mother, make sure you don't get hit by a car. Drivers are reckless, and they'll hit you if you're not careful. This is my mom. Me as a kid, "Mom, I'm going to the bathroom." Mom, alone. Be careful, some men could cut off your that I always have to explain or justify my mood if I'm in a bad or irritable or sad mood. No, I don't. Just let me be. Bro, I empathize so much with this. Sometimes you're just on edge, yeah, no? So leave me alone. Stop antagonizing me and making me more irritable on purpose, and then making fun of me for it. Truly hilarious. I love my quiet sanctuary I've created where those people are not welcome. Don't talk back. I was just explaining my logic and my way of problem solving. Sorry that it sounded like disrespect, but that's your problem. And my parents wonder why I don't share information with them anymore. Because heaven forbid your daughter share actual information with you. I'm in my 40s, and my dad still talks about how much I talked back growing up. It wasn't until I had my own child that I realized I wasn't talking back. I simply wanted to explain the situation. But back then it was expected for me to just say, yes sir, no matter what. Anything else was talking back. As a parent now, there has been plenty of time that I was wrong about a situation, and it got cleared up because I allow my child to speak. My parents never apologized. I apologize all the time to my child. If I'm wrong, or if I overreacted, I apologize. My parents never did that. I had a violent childhood, and I chose not to have kids because I knew I wouldn't be good at it. I just want to say thank you for posting stories like this. You're not the only one. You're healing when you share how you have learned and grown from your experiences. You're taking all of the rest of the folks like me with you on that journey. I wasn't able to really understand on an emotional level that what happened to me wasn't my fault until I started reading all the stories of folks my age and younger doing better with their own kids through gentler parenting styles. We were just little kids, you know? Small children are so tiny and fragile and ignorant and dumb. We didn't deserve what they did to us. We didn't bring it on ourselves. They were wrong to hurt us like they did. Thanks for that. It's my head in a way that no therapist ever could, to just literally see other people doing it better over the years. I'm doing it. There's no violence and lots of listening to my little one's perspectives. It helps us all understand better. The little babies are precious. Plus they never chose to be here, we chose for them. We can never make them feel like it's their fault they exist. You can't always get what you want. True dad, but you keep forgetting the second part, where if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Hahaha, I say this to my kids all the time. You can't always get what you want. And then I sing the next part, and they roll their eyes at me, and I laugh and laugh. My parents both used to do that, complete with Mick Jagger's Winnie caterwauling tone. All it accomplished was giving me a burning hatred for that song. That I was completely indebted to them simply because they fed me and put a roof over my head. As if that isn't the absolute bare minimum requirement of being a parent. Legit, my folks are the same. I cut them off finally at 38. If you choose to have kids, it's your responsibility to care for them the rest of your life. It is never their responsibility to care for you because you chose to have them, not the other way around. Right, my son said something that in our religion, you have responsibility over your boys until they are 6 years old. I guess they learned it in school and it's an archaic thing. I told him, you mad, at least until you are 18, maybe longer. You must deep clean the entire house a day before guests come over, so it's freshly cleaned. So any family gathering, visiting for the weekend, family dinners, etc. Bleach everything, baseboards, kitchen grout, dust ceiling fans or vents, do all the laundry, etc. We talking hands and knees scrubbing. We spring cleaned every month if not more. It's crazy how people can actually visit a lived-in home where maybe the couch hasn't been vacuumed in the last week or the porch hasn't been swept. People really don't care how clean the inside of your fridge is or if you wipe down the garbage can. I still do it to this day, but not as neurotic. My mom is a firm believer that someone out there is gonna poison Halloween candy or sneak drugs in it. She's still convinced this happens. There has never once been a corroborated case of this happening ever in the history of mankind. Never. Tootsie Roll Pops, Smarties, Dum Dums, anything that could be easily tampered with we were ordered to throw in the trash. She watched us do it just to make sure and checked our candy to see if we missed any. I'm 38 years old. I have my own kids who are trick or treat age now. Drugs are expensive. Nobody is putting pot into the Halloween cookies. Jail really. Nobody is sneaking cyanide into the blow pops. You just have to it up. Life's hard. But I shouldn't have to just stay quiet though. I should be able to speak up and let someone know when I don't like something or disagree with it. It up. Walk it off. Everyone has problems. Everyone has pain. Everyone gets sad sometimes. I've had multiple therapists tell me they are surprised by how okay I turned out. Someone once told me something I'll never forget. Life for everyone, man. So don't be afraid to reach out. Either reach out for help or reach out to help. But reach. That they have eyes on the back of their head. So basically to say, they're always watching me, especially when I was little, so I wouldn't do something bad. I've never seen their extra eyes, so I'm going with ridiculous. I've started saying this to my son. He is 3 and couldn't understand how I could see him drinking from the dog bowl outside. I saw him in the reflection, so I said, "I've got eyes in the back of my head, bud," and immediately understood what my parents were saying all that time. Little kids think they are so sneaky, and you can't see them if their hands are over their eyes. If it's not gross or dangerous, I'll let him get away with stuff, or pretend I don't know how it happened, but occasionally you gotta pull out some black magic. You always have to be the best at everything, or you always have to be one. I wasted a lot of my high school and college years solely on studying and being the best in my class that I missed out on so many fun social events. Now here I'm hitting 25 with social anxiety and can't speak to people without freezing up and or stuttering. I was like that too before quitting college because of mental issues. I later found out that I loved talking to people and became a social person. I used to not be able to talk to anyone without my face turning red. I'm able to do it, so are you. Have confidence in yourself. Show up at least 30 minutes early to everything. It's better to be early than late, and they'll appreciate your initiative to show up early. Turns out showing up before people are even ready is quite annoying to people when you surprise them by showing up early. I'm betting my life savings you aren't Spanish. This type of logic doesn't exist in the Spanish or Latin Caribbean. Everything starts 30 minutes to 2 hours after they said it would. And I as a Cuban am with my boyfriend who shows up early to everything. Sadly, that debt is only bad as soon it has direct consequences. Every other debt is not bad, because where I live they can't take all you have. There is a monthly minimum that nobody can touch, not even the government, and that limit is enough for most payroll to get by fairly okay. So I sadly have learned also only to deal with what's threatening immediate consequences and just let things ride until they get to that point. Let me tell you that this is haunting me and has only had a bad influence on my life. I have this, but the God will provide version. You can't eat warm food for breakfast. Yes, there are breakfast foods and not breakfast foods. It's okay to have breakfast for dinner, but it's not okay to have dinner for breakfast. Now I eat whatever I want for whatever meal I want. Can't have dinner for breakfast? Then what in the hell was leftover pizza invented for? That I had to hug any family or friends who wanted to hug me. Everyone else's feelings were more important than my own deep discomfort. I was constantly being forced to show physical affection because not doing so hurt my father's, grandparents, and little brother's feelings. It really got kicked into overdrive when my mother realized that other people were noticing me cringe away from even the slightest touch from her. Who knew that if you badly abuse your daughter, she's going to flinch when you try to hug her? My son is really not into physical touch, and I basically have to fight people off with a stick. When he told me he didn't want to go to Christmas at grandma's because people would try to hug him, I really had to bring down the hammer, and I said if any of them tried to touch him without his express permission they would never see us again. He is now happy to visit our family, and they are content with getting a drawing and a wave. Typical religious fanatic nonsense. My role as a girl was to prepare myself to be the best wife and mother. CSA is the victim's fault. What I wanted didn't matter. Know your place. There's no point in educating girls and women. If someone is a religious leader, they can do no wrong. Edited. Crappy mobile formatting. Wow, congrats on escaping. Seriously. People making minimum wage are stupid and beneath us. People on government handouts are a drain on taxpayers who work for their money. Universal health care is communist and un-American. My father, who has never had a job interview or put together a resume in his life. He joined the army at 18 and is still in it over 30 years later as an officer, whose entire salary is paid by taxes and has his healthcare and education paid for by the government. It baffles me how he doesn't see his own hypocrisy. How he can think it's okay for these benefits to be given only if you risk life and limb and be overseas most of your child's life. My dad was in 420 and would be at about the same total if he was still in. He was the exact same way. He retired at 20 years though. He got real sick a few years after he got out, and it gave him a lot of perspective. He's done one hell of a 180 after he realized how much the military doesn't care about you once they don't own you. Not to mention how things are for everyone else too. He especially regrets that last part and realized he probably wouldn't have had those opinions if not for the military providing those things. Wait until marriage to have. None of us kids did, and it turned out that my parents were lying about their own situation too. With the exception of one set of cousins I've only met once in my life, I genuinely believe I may be the only person in my entire extended family who didn't wait. I'm serious. They are all that religious still to this day. I know my sister waited because the first time I visited them after they got married, I went to Google something on their computer and the most recent search was sexually incompatible with spouse. I guess they worked it out. They are still married 20 years later. OMG, I'm sorry, but that is hilarious. My mom trained me never to let a man see me in any in-between state, like makeup half done, a face mask on, etc., because it would ruin their image of me and they would leave me because I wasn't womanly enough. My dad reinforced this by taking me around and pointing out the women I should look like, who showed the amount of effort a man would want done for him every day. I've always operated on the principle that the first time I meet someone I should always look a little crappy. That way the next time they see me looking average, they'll think, wow, you look great. That the number on the scale matters. My whole life I agonized about my weight. My mom kept telling me I should weigh 120, but I could never get there. But now I'm almost 40, and I've finally figured it out. I can run a half marathon in under 2 hours, and my mom still gets after me for my weight being over 130 at 5 feet 4 inches. I'm healthy and strong. The scale doesn't matter. Where did they all get this 120 number? My mom and grandma say the same. I'm also a runner, and similar stats to you. Also late 30s, 5 feet 4 inches, over 130, and a 1:45-ish half marathon time. I struggle with body image all the time, but running helps me focus on what's important, being strong and healthy, and in tune with my body. I keep getting better and faster. Keep on being awesome. You sound super cool. You can't run the dishwasher on the same day as the washing machine. I grew up with a fairly shallow well, and we ran out of water frequently. Now, I'm on a town water system, and there have been several times that I have waited to run the dishes because it's too soon. I grew up with well water too, and it wasn't until I was like 25, after living on city water for multiple years, that I found out that not being able to use water when the electricity is out was a well water thing, and you can use city water even if the power is out. My parents had, it seems, little concept of emotions, what they are, what they're for, when they're appropriate, etc. Everything had to be suppressed, pushed down until it exploded one day, causing a reaction far in excess of the stimulus. I've spent a lot of time independently learning about something, which was very important and utterly neglected. That sounds familiar. But in my house we were allowed happy or positive emotions, but only very quietly, certainly not boisterously. Then if you aren't performing your happy positivity quietly, you are being selfish by taking away from everyone else's happy positivity. This sounds kinda culty out of context. As a teenage girl, I often heard, why would he buy the cow if he can have the milk for free, as a phrase trying to discourage me from being slutty, I guess. Well, I was definitely a little slutty in college, whatever. But I always kept that phrase in the back of my mind. Why should I buy the cow if I can have the milk for free? I don't need a boyfriend. If I'm getting the orgasm I want without a commitment, good for me. Saying, why should I buy the pig when all I want is a little sausage, as a reply never went well for me. Finish everything on your plate. I see PPL with weight problems who can't resist the overwhelming need to finish every bite. You're not a garbage disposal. It won't save Chinese kids from starvation. It won't make you a bad person. Eat everything on your plate, they say, as they pile the food high. I'm not hungry. Can't I save some for later, when I'm hungry? Eat everything on your plate. People are starving in Africa. Send it to them. Then, how dare you use logical reasoning with me? They insisted socks should always match. Turns out, mismatched socks bring a bit of rebel flair to life. Haha. Mismatched socks can only be worn if they are of the exact same weight, height, and foot hug tension. Otherwise, nope 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 nope. I can't wear mismatched socks unless they came in the same package and only the color varies. Feeling one foot different from the other, whether by not being equally ventilated, feeling the elastic on different places in each foot, etc. just drives me nuts. Thank you.